Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today for WordStream's webinar, Hacking AdWords, the Secret to Quality Score. My name's Chris and I'll be your moderator for today's presentation. For today's agenda, we have some great AdWords insight lined up for you. We'll discuss why you should care about quality score in AdWords, reveal how AdWords Quality Score is actually calculated, show you a real-life case study of how one advertiser got an average quality score of 8.8 out of 10, and finally discuss what this all means and what you need to start doing now to make improvements in your account. We'll also save some time at the end of the presentation to answer any questions you may have, so feel free to answer your questions in the GoToWebinar box throughout the presentation. To introduce our speaker for today's presentation, we have on the webinar with us Larry Kim. Larry is the founder and CTO of WordStream. He's been doing PPC and SEO for over 10 years. Larry was recently awarded by ppchero.com as the #1 most influential PPC expert of 2013, and his company WordStream is the provider of the 20-minute PPC Workweek and the AdWords Performance Grader. If you'd like to take part in live blogging during the webinar, you can include the hashtag #HackingAdWords and enter any of your social media channels. I also wanted to mention that WordStream is currently running a contest with our good friends over at Constant Contact. One lucky SMB will win a $25,000 Google AdWords budget for 2014 plus free marketing tools from WordStream and Constant Contact. For contest rules and how to enter, you can visit www.wordstream.com/grade-and-get-paid. And with that, let me hand things over to Larry and we'll get started with the presentation.
Awesome, thanks, Chris. Before we jump right in, I thought we could just learn a little bit about the audience for today, and the way we can do this is just via the online poll. So the first question that I have for you guys, since this is a kind of a webinar about AdWords Quality Score, is what's your average quality score in your accounts or the accounts that you manage? The options are, I don't even know what it is. It's kind of below average, maybe 4 out of 10 or less, or average, which would kind of be in the 5 or 6 range, or amazing, like this one advertiser we'll be showing you today, who has above 8 out of 10 or higher. How are we doing for respondents?
So about 70 people have voted so far, so let's just give it another moment, Larry.
Great. So just lock in your votes, and we'll love to see how people are doing so far.
Okay, Larry, I just put up the results for the first question.
Awesome. So it looks like you've got most of them are just average with a good amount below average. So great. That's what we'll be talking about today, is how to become like some of those. I think it's like 19% of amazing people. And for you people who are already amazing, you'll just confirm what you already know, I guess. Our second question for today has to do with, besides PPC marketing, what other types of marketing outlets or channels do you utilize for either your own business or for the clients that you manage? And just pick as many as that apply, like search engine optimization, email marketing, affiliate marketing, social media marketing, Chris, I don't know if they're able to type any responses in the box here. I don't see a box.
Oh yeah, so for that last question there, if you could just type in the question box any other types of marketing channels.
Sure. Yeah, I can see the whatever you guys type in the questions just shows up on my screen here, guys. So great. How are we doing on responses here?
There you go, Larry. I just launched the results.
Wow, so we are a bunch of multi-channel marketers, it seems. Lots of emails, SEO, and social media marketing. Great. So let's begin. And I thought, before jumping into all the details on kind of the hidden hacking AdWords details that we'll be revealing about how Polyscore works, let's just first review sort of the basics, because there are, at least 20% of the people in the poll here said that they didn't know how to calculate the quality score, and so let's just recap here, but I promise for everyone else there will be more detailed insights in just 2 minutes. But basically I wanted to start sort of at the beginning here, and kind of discuss what exactly is quality score and why you should care. And essentially, quality score. It's a very important metric on a score of 1 to 10. That's kind of like a grade of the keywords and the ads in your AdWords account in terms of the relevancy of your ads. And so the important thing is that quality score impacts both your ad positioning as well as your cost per click. So those are both very important metrics in your account in terms of whether or not you'll be able to see positive ROI in search. So definitely pay attention to quality score. And this simple figure just shows how the ranking of ads. So typically in a search, whenever you search on anything, there's going to be multiple ads showing up from different vendors who are interested in the same keyword. The key takeaway here is that the way that Google ranks the ads on the search result page is not simply a ranking based on your maximum bid. It's sort of the product of your maximum bid multiplied by the relevancy of your ad, and then that will get you your ad rank, and then the ads are then ordered in descending order of ad rank. So notice how Advertiser 1 can actually get the top spot here, even though he's only bidding $2, whereas Advertiser 2 is willing to bid $4. So that's a very important point there. Secondly, I just wanted to illustrate how quality score impacts the price that you pay every time someone clicks on your ads on AdWords. And so there's this pretty simple formula. It's a little confusing though, but let me explain it to you. It's just the cost per click that you actually pay, which is it's not the same thing as your maximum cost per click bid. Remember, when you set a max CPC bid, that's the most you're willing to pay. It's not actually what you pay. So the price that you are actually charged by Google when someone clicks on your ad is equal to the ad rank of the person below you divided by your quality score plus a penny. So notice how in Advertiser 1, the ad rank that he needs to beat is the ad rank of Advertiser 2, who has an ad rank of 16, divided by Advertiser's 1 quality score, which is 10, plus a penny is $1.61. So even though he was willing to pay up to $2 for that click, he receives a 20% discount as a result of your cost per click being divided by your quality score. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, why you should care about quality score in terms of how it impacts your quality, your cost per click, and your ad rankings. Both very important. So generally, after I show that to people, people ask me, what's sort of a good quality score? What's average? Am I doing well or not? And so I wanted to just share some research that we've created here earlier this year, which is what's an average quality score? Well, on average, the average quality score is 5.1 out of 10, but typically you get a distribution of all sorts of different keywords with different quality scores. For example, some with 7, some with 10, some with 3, some with 4. And so this is kind of, if you look at the impressions in a typical account, this is what the distribution looks like. And if you're kind of right around the average, you'll be around 5.1 out of 10. Now, the reason why this matters is because, as I mentioned to you earlier, the cost per click is inversely proportional to your quality score. Remember, it was the cost per click was the ad rank to be divided by your quality score. Meaning, if you have maybe a quality score of 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, that means you have an above average quality score, and therefore your cost per clicks on AdWords will be discounted on average. If you're a 6 out of 10, then you're getting kind of a 16.7% discount. If you're an 8 out of 10, you're getting a 37.5% discount on average. And notice how in this table it also shows the penalties or the costs associated with having a below average quality score. For example, if your average quality score is 3 out of 10, then on average your cost per clicks are 67% higher than the average advertiser, which has a 5 out of 10. I just wanted to note also that over the last 4 years, the quality score algorithm has become a little bit of a tougher grader. What I mean by that is they used to give out a lot of like 7s and 8s and 10s, but those have become much more rare in relatively the last few years. And so previously, the average quality score was around 7. It's now around 5. And so as the average quality score has decreased, the value or the penalty of having either above average quality score or below average quality score has greatly increased. And notice how, just having a quality score of 6, the 16% discount, 16.7% discount, that's up 200% in the last 2 years. Same with the quality score 8. That's also substantially worth more than it was, just even a year ago. So hopefully that makes sense. How in terms of the value of having an above-average quality score, in terms of the impact on your cost per click, but many marketers are very, smart to make a point that it doesn't matter what the cost per click is. What matters is the cost per conversion. Like, who cares if you're paying, $5 or $10 per click if you can convert that into, profitable, customers or e-commerce sales or whatever it is you're doing for your business. So here I did some research earlier this year in terms of trying to figure out what average cost per how the average cost per conversion varied with quality score. And what I saw was definitely that there was indeed a correlation between, higher quality scores results in lower cost per conversion, and vice versa. Lower quality scores result in higher cost per conversion. And what is happening here is that I didn't notice very much huge differences in terms of conversion rates. So believe it or not, if you have a keyword that's quality score 3 versus a keyword that's quality score 4 or 5, those keywords don't, on average, do any better or worse in terms of their conversion rate once they get to your page. And that makes a lot of sense because the conversion rate has a lot to do with your offer, has a lot to do with, like, what the aesthetics of the page, etc., and doesn't necessarily have as much to do with the quality score of the keywords. So what's happening is if you have a sort of a constant kind of conversion rate across all different keywords, then basically the reductions, those steep reductions in cost per click, kind of translate themselves into great savings in terms of your cost per conversions on average. And so, just as in a tabular format, it's the same data here. If you had an average quality score of, say, 7, or then you would find on average your cost per action relative to the average quality score of 5 is reduced on average by 32%. And similarly, if your average quality score is below the average of 5, then you would find that your cost per actions are increased by, say, 48% if you have an average of 2 out of 10. So hopefully that kind of clarifies the value of having a high, or actually an above average quality score, in that it gives you better ad positioning, which is very important because that means more exposure for your business, and also a lower cost per click as well as a lower cost per conversion. Now, having kind of explained, what quality score is in a high-level sense and why it matters, let's get to the meat of this presentation, which is how is the quality score actually calculated? And the answer has a lot to do with the click-through rate of your ads. So here I've plotted a few thousand, ad groups, the click-through rate of a few thousand ad groups, and plotted their quality score versus the click-through rate. And you can see a very, very strong correlation between, higher click-through rates generally lead to higher quality scores. Now, you can also see that there's a lot of variance here. Like, there's some, there's some noise here. Like, for any given click-through rate, you're getting still a decent amount of ranges for quality score. So I wanted to figure out, what the heck is happening there. If we could kind of clean up some of this noise. Basically, what I was able to determine, this is just internal research that we've done based on our own clients here at WordStream. Basically, what we're able to determine is that there's various factors that kind of influence your predicted click-through rate. So, what if I were to, instead of taking, all these thousands of data points, what if I only look at the data points, that have an average position between, say, 2.1 and 2.2? And this matters because, you're going to have a very different click-through rate if you're in the first position, whether, compared to whether you're in the 5th or 6th position. So what if we could, narrow down the data points and only look at people in a certain range between 2.1 and 2.2 average position, does that clean up the noise a bit? And absolutely, it starts to kind of a more clear picture starts to emerge here. What if I look at another data set? It's just looking only at ad groups with average positions between 4.1 and 4.2. And you can see, again, a much tighter regression. And so it got me thinking, could we isolate some of the variables here in terms of how they're calculating, the quality score? And what you can see is in this kind of regression, what I've done is I've basically taken those 1,000 data points from the first graph that I've shown you, and I've kind of, looked at cohorts of ad groups with different average positions. So, the blue color at the very bottom is kind of the average position 1 to 1.5. The next orange one is positions 1.5 to 2.0, etc. And so what I found was it's kind of an exponential relationship, which makes a lot of sense because the people in the first spot are much more likely to be clicked on than the people in the second, third, or fourth spot. And so basically, you get the picture here. What's happening while the wide dispersion? It's because there's other factors that seem to impact your quality score in terms of the expected click-through rate, and this kind of by targeting kind of more narrow cohorts, you can get a better sense for what it is that's expected of you. So just moving along here. I just for fun, I wanted to see like, can you buy higher quality scores like by raising your bids? And so I just plotted the search quality score versus the average search position, and what I found was a correlation of 0.00000005, which is basically nothing. So meaning I didn't find higher quality scores for higher positions, which is really important because a lot of times I think Google says you need to get higher quality scores, you need to raise your click-through rate. But when actually that's true but incomplete. A more complete way of saying that would be saying you need to get higher click-through rates relative to the expected click-through rate at a certain position. So just I think they're maybe being a little bit vague, perhaps to get people to raise the bids or whatever. But raising bids by in of itself does not result in you being predisposed to having higher or lower quality scores. So just pushing this even a little further because this is an advanced topic and inquiring minds want to know. I wanted to kind of really get to the bottom of how specifically quality score is being calculated, and basically we've got, previously I just showed you some relationships between an exponential relationship between the expected click-through rates for different ad positions. That was a few slides back. It occurred to me that you could easily calculate sort of what is an expected CTR for an average position. And the way that you can do this is just look at your own clients' accounts, as I have done. Look at your own client accounts or your own accounts and try to get a sense for what is the average click-through rate for various average positions. And so here I've done this with a couple thousand clients, and what I was able to determine. So this orange curve here, this y equals 0.0673 e to the whatever negative 3.305x. That's sort of the as I look at my own clients, that's sort of the expected click-through rate for an ad on AdWords. And so, now that I know the click-through rate of the typical ad for the typical ad position and what that curve looks like, I can kind of get a sense for, what's the expected click-through rate, and how people's quality score, like how that is related to the average the expected click-through rate. And so the way that I can do this is I can look at basically look at the the search quality score in these people's campaigns, in my clients' campaigns, and then I can compare it to see how high is their click-through rate, and are they beating or are they falling short of the expected click-through rate? So meaning like how much are they over or underachieving the expected click-through rate that I've just calculated, and then dividing that into a sort of a percentage over or underachievement. So meaning if you're minus 50% on this chart, that means you're underachieving the expected click-through rate by 50%, or if you're plus 50%, then you're overachieving by 50%, if that makes sense. And so if I were to just add 100 to that regression, I could make all the values positive, which would allow me to create this kind of linear, this exponential logarithmic regression here. And basically, this is the key takeaway here. Basically, that if you are, in the if your click-through rate for your ads are basically what Google expects of you, you'll have a quality score of 5.1. And if you are to overachieve the average click-through rate, what I found was you will rapidly get a far better click-through rate. You'll get a far better quality score if you just do marginally better than the expected click-through rate. Now, if you then continue to outperform and do, double or triple or quadruple the expected click-through rate, you get kind of diminishing returns. And so, the good news here is that you don't necessarily need to get 50% click-through rates or stuff like this. You just need to do marginally above what is expected of you. And so we'll talk about specific tips on how to do that in just a second. But hopefully this makes sense. And so, and by the way, we'll be taking questions in just a few minutes here. There's plenty of time for questions. So I'm very curious to hear your questions about this research, as this is all original stuff that we've published internally here. Okay, so let's make this a little bit more real here. So far we've been kind of, doing kind of an academic survey of quality score and trying to figure out, how the algorithm works and how it calculates, that number, 2 or 5 or 7, like your quality score. And hopefully, I've convinced you that it's an important number, and that it impacts, your click through, your cost per click, and your ad positionings, and your conversion cost. And that the key to how it's calculated has to do with your actual click-through rate relative to the expected click-through rate at a particular ad position. So let's see if we can make this a little bit more real. And one way we can do this is by looking at specific advertisers with either above average or below average performance, and trying to figure out if, if the theory holds true for individual cases as well, and then see what they're doing to get those high click-through rates or and high quality scores, or what they're doing or what they're not doing in the case of a failure. So this particular advertiser has a quality score of 8.8 out of 10. So this is, I know a couple of you, maybe like 10 or 15% of you, said that you had above average quality scores on the survey. This particular grade of 8.8 out of 10 is a very, very high above average quality score. In terms of the quality scores that I see, that would put it in the 98th percentile in terms of like awesomeness. So out of 100 people, only 2 people would be ahead of this particular advertiser, and this advertiser would be ahead of the other 98, and so that's pretty significant. And look at the distribution. Notice how earlier I was saying typically you get some 2s, some 3s, some 4s, some 5s, some 6s, etc. For this particular advertiser, he's got a very unusual distribution. All of the keywords in all the impressions in this guy's account are being impressed to keywords with quality score 7 and 10. He's got nothing at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So that's really remarkable. Let's try to figure out how this is happening and how he does this. As you would expect, earlier I was giving you some slides showing you that quality score has a lot to do with click-through rate, and hopefully that also turns out to be the case here, which is actually the case. His click-through rate through search is a whopping 14.06%, despite being in a relatively kind of middle position, 2.88. He's not at the top of the screen here, but he's still like top 3 position here. That's a very, very high click-through rate relative to the expected click-through rate. And as you can see in this graph here, I've kind of charted that yellow curve, which is that kind of the expected click-through rate curve that we were just looking at earlier. Notice how all the different keywords, those green dots on this map, are most of them, like the lion's share of them, are actually above the curve and substantially above the curve. And so that's how he's able to get this really, really high quality score. It has to do with his click-through rate. We'll talk about that, exactly how he did that, in just a minute. But let's just continue here. A second thing that I noticed as I looked through his account is that he's no lazy bum. What do I mean by this? So, some of you might be tempted to, if you had an 8 out of 10 quality score, some of you might be tempted to kind of call it a day and say, like, this is good enough, and I don't need to do any more work in my AdWords account. Well, this guy, even though he's doing really great, he's very, very active in his account. So I've just basically gone through his change history log just to get a sense for how much work is he doing in his account over the last 30 or 90 days. How many new ad campaigns, how many new ad texts, how many new or different or edited or deleted or keywords or ad groups. And as you can see, he's done like 346 new keywords in the last 90 days, 164 in the last 30 days. So this guy he's looking at his PPC account. I called him actually. This was so amazing that I had to just talk to him in person. I interviewed him. The interview's actually on our blog. But basically, what he's saying here is that even though he's got a really high quality score, he views it as like something that he still needs to work on, and maintain regularly, and just keep, trying out different keywords, because there's always keywords that you didn't think about. You always have ads that are underperforming, and so he's just keep on, for a couple hours a month, or even just 30 minutes a week. He does a little bit of research in the account and just keeps that automatic and continuous. So that's his workflow. One of the really interesting things that I noticed about this guy's account is that he's a real fan of negative keywords. Now, negative keywords are really important AdWords tool for eliminating junk. It has to do with like excluding certain keywords that you don't want your ads to show up for. So this definitely increases your click-through rate. Now, Google actually says that negative keywords have no bearing on quality score. And so that's what they say, and it's hard to argue with Google if that's what they're saying. But sometimes there's differences between what I'm seeing and what Google says, and what I'm seeing is that by using negative keywords, you can definitely increase your quality score, definitely increase your click-through rate. And you'll definitely improve your return on investment. And I've also seen very strong evidence that shows that the higher your click-through rate, the higher your quality score. And so who knows if this really impacts quality score? I tend to think it does. Just based on what I'm seeing here, regardless, it'll definitely save you money in terms of not having your ads show up on stupid search queries that have nothing to do with what you do. And so this guy, as you can see, he's very active. He's added 200 negative keywords into his account in the last quarter, 150 of them in the last month. So it's again some of these ongoing kind of maintenance management tasks. This is also pretty interesting. As I look at the guy's account, I notice that he's got almost like a 89% impression share on average in his various accounts. So this is really valuable because impression share never goes to 100%, you guys. It's always like the highest it'll ever go is like 89%. Why? Because Google doesn't always want to monetize every single search. If you notice, like if you search on the same thing over and over, eventually it just stops showing ads. So you're never going to get 100% impression share, but this is about as high as you get. And so going back to sort of, the value of having a high quality score is that Google then aggressively really wants to show your ads quite a bit. And so what I'm finding here is that it's far better to have a narrow set of keywords, 2 or 3 word long tail keywords, and get a high share of those impressions rather than casting a broader net and going after kind of broader, more unspecific keywords like one-word keywords like insurance or something like that, and getting a smaller impression share of that. So you're better off being more intentional and specifically going after keywords that are highly, high commercial intent, and then trying to drive like a high impression share of that more narrow net. Another thing I noticed it has to do with killer ads. He's writing ads, and we'll talk about this in just a moment in terms of what the ads look like. But basically, he's able to write ads on non-branded terms that are driving 29.7% click-through rates. I'll show you how to do that in just a minute if you stick on the line for a few more minutes here. But before getting into the specific tips on writing those ads or how to get the really high quality score, high click-through rates, I just wanted to do the reverse, which is, there's an advertiser who is really kicking butt. What about kind of like a kind of a more middle of the road advertiser? I think something like 40% of you guys said that you had kind of like an average quality score, kind of middle of the road, 4 or 5. So I wanted to just show kind of an account that might look a little more closer to the majority of the people here. And so in this account, it's another advertiser. He has an average quality score of 3.8 out of 10, and that's versus the average of around 5.6 for this particular industry. And so what you can see here is in terms of the quality score distribution, it's not nearly as wonderful as that previous account, which had all quality scores 7 and 10. This guy has lots of 3s, lots of 4s, lots of 6s, no 10s, 9s, or 8s, and very few 7s. And so, if this is what your quality score looks like, don't despair. There's ways to improve here. Let's first look at kind of what he might be doing wrong. So, remember again, it has everything to do with click-through rate, and so. And when I look at this guy's click-through rate, he's got a very low click-through rate of 1.31 in an average position of 4.12. Now, that's only one ad position lower than the other advertiser who was able to get a 14% click-through rate. So, look at how all these keywords on the plot of click-through rate versus average position, most of these green dots, these are the top 200 keywords in the guy's account. Most of his top keywords are underperforming the expected click-through rate for different positions. And so even though you might think, wow, well, patting yourself on the back, 1.31% click-through rate is really good. You actually need, almost just, maybe about a 50% higher click-through rate here in order to make this to be the expected click-through rate. And what you would find is just by making modest improvements to your click-through rate above the expected click-through rate, you'd see much higher quality scores. So it's not like you have to go all the way to 14, but if you could get this to like 2.3% or something like that, I think you would be much better position in terms of the quality scores. So as I look at the guy's account, another thing that I noticed is that he wasn't that active. I'm just calling it, lazy, meaning like he's not, he's not like that other guy who had as a weekly task. He would kind of do some work in his account and look for new keywords and new ads. As I look through his change history log, he's done nothing in the last 30 days and very little in the last 90 days, like 2 ads. So it's definitely the effort isn't there, and so nothing worth doing well is ever easy, and so it's going to take a little bit of effort in terms of some ad text and keyword optimization in order to right this ship. The good news is that it's not all that hard. It could be as little as like 30 minutes a week. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. we didn't talk about this in the other account, but one of the problems that is plaguing this account is that he's relying almost entirely on kind of head terms. So head terms are kind of those keywords that are very broad and unspecific. So he's got 28% of the impressions of his account happening to one-word keywords like insurance, and two-word keywords like, I don't know, life insurance. So that meaning the vast majority, the lion's share of the impressions in this account are happening to one and two keywords. Very little are happening at the long tail. And I think that's one of the primary drivers of such a low click-through rate. It's just the more generic and broad your keyword, the harder it is to create relevant ad experiences. Look at this, the penalty here that the user has in terms of the his impression share. He's lost 68% of the available impression share due to relevancy issues, and is only acquiring, his ads are only showing up 29% of the time when they're eligible, which is very, very different picture from that other guy who had a 90% impression share. And so again, as for the value of doing this type of optimizations, I would say it has to do with Google doesn't even want to show your ads if they're this bad. So they're only showing up a third of the time because of the low relevancy. So hopefully, we talked about sort of the theory in terms of how the quality score is calculated and why it matters. We did some analysis on two specific accounts, one that was overperforming and one that was just slightly below the average, and kind of what were some of the problems. I wanted to give you some additional tips, just two extra tips here in terms of my best tips for how to get that quality score up to like above average values. Definitely possible. Remember, you don't have to get it all the way up to 10% or whatever. You just have to outperform the expected click-through rate slightly. And so how can you do that? Well, the easiest way to do this is to bid on branded keywords. So branded keywords have high commercial intent. So like if you're searching for WordStream, that's my company name, that's a branded term. Chances are that person is looking to navigate to WordStream's website, and those types of keywords tend to get 60, 50, 70% click-through rates, like very, very high click-through rates that are insanely high. So when I look at that overperforming advertiser, a lot of these keywords that are getting like the 60, 70, 80% click-through rates, those were actually branded terms. And so what that does is that has the effect of raising the average click-through rate of his campaigns and of his account in a big way. Now, why does that matter? Well, if you remember his distribution, and let me see if I can find that. His distribution was it was all 10s and all 7s, like so either 7 or 10, even though he's got keywords with 0% click-through rate. What the heck is going on here? You've got keywords with 0% click-through rates, yet they are being graded quality score of 7 or 10. So what I believe is happening here, let me just scroll forward, what I believe is happening is that the high average click-through rate, which is generated in part due to some branded terms, although a lot of these kind of middle terms, between 10 and 40%, those are not branded terms. They're actually commercial terms. But I think what's happening is that the high account average click-through rate is kind of creating this nice benefit of doubt kind of thing where Google is more likely to give higher quality scores to keywords, including keywords with 0% click-through rates. I think that's kind of an interesting find. Additionally, on the subject of branded keywords, you don't want to spend 100% of your budget on branded keywords, obviously, because search marketing is all about finding people who might have not heard of your brand. And so, how much is enough? Well, I definitely recommend, between 10 and 20% of your AdWords budget be going towards, branded keywords, in that not only will it increase your quality scores and your click-through rates in terms of your account, it'll also provide a better branded experience for people looking to navigate to your site. So you can call to specific promotions or offers to the attention of the user, which you're not able to do as well in organic search. So there's a lot of value there. Beyond branded keywords, the brand keywords of your competitors do very well because again, there's strong commercial intent, strong navigational intent. If someone is searching for Nike shoes or whatever they're looking for, if that keyword contains a brand, those are very high commercial intent, tend to get much higher click-through rates than, say, informational keywords such as who won the War of 1812. Like that's, someone's doing some research there and is probably less likely to click on your ad. So, high commercial intent keywords, including branded keywords of your own or other keywords containing other brands. It doesn't have to be competitors. It can also be partners you work with, that kind of thing. Those tend to do very well. And then beyond that, there's like high commercial intent keywords in general that things like stainless steel dishwasher, like keywords where you can kind of infer that the person is looking to buy something like right now. So like PPC management software would be an example of a very specific thing with a product orientation that people are looking to buy that I'd like to bid on because I think it has a very high commercial intent. Those are the types of keywords that you should be bidding on because on balance they tend to be clicked on much higher rates than informational keywords. The only other tip that I had here was had to do with AdWords Jackpots. So what the heck is an AdWords Jackpot? This is kind of a word that I've invented here. So you'll notice like when you do searches on Google, because a lot of search engine marketers, maybe they're not the most creative people in the world or something. They're very like data-oriented analysts, kind of, spreadsheet junkies. A lot of times what I've noticed is that people will have the same ad for all the ads in the search results. So like in this search for big data solutions, you notice there's not a heck of a lot of differentiation happening in terms of the ads on this, what I would call this kind of high commercial intent keyword. So I'm sure you've seen AdWords Jackpots in your own searching, like when you search for iPad mini, look at these ads, they're all the same. The reason why I call this an AdWords jackpot is it kind of reminds me of, I was in Vegas 2 weeks ago and, when you get all these lucky sevens in a row, you win, you win the jackpot. And so, but in this case, finding an AdWords jackpot is actually not the winning hand. You want to have it's a jackpot in that there's opportunity to differentiate your ads from all the other, advertisers in that list. And so, my friend and colleague, respected colleague, Perry Marshall, he's got a really cool kind of thought process, kind of brainstorming kind of tool. He's calling it the Swiss Army Knife Blade #1, and it's just like a kind of a brainstorming technique. What he's doing here, he's just writing down sort of who's your customer. What's something that your customer loves. What's something that your customer hates. Who's your customer's best friend? Who's your customer's worst enemy? And then by connecting the adjacencies in this matrix, you can try to come up with these really, really emotionally charged, spectacular ads, such as this one here, worst enemy husband, worst enemy mistress. This would be for a divorce attorney. Who is your husband sleeping with? Is he sleeping with, quote, her right now? Get revenge and a smile on your face. Badmarriagerevenge.com. So this is an example of an ad that actually gets 29% click-through rate because it makes a really strong connection with the user who's searching for it in terms of their state of mind, and so by doing this kind of exercise of looking for what do they love, what do they hate, who do they love, who do they hate, and trying to connect those themes, you'll be surprised. Instead of writing a 1% click-through rate ad, you might have like a 5% click-through rate ad or something like that. So there's definitely things you can do there in terms of your ad copy, and certainly I just did a search before this webinar started on divorce lawyers in Boston just to see what are people advertising on, and as you can see, it's all the same thing. It's all like undifferentiated, plenty of room for some creative advertising here. Keep in mind it's like search engine marketing. It's still marketing, so don't forget to try to be compelling and interesting and make emotional connections in your ads, as opposed to just relying on copying the ads of your competitor or whatever. All right, so I wanted to give some time for questions and answers here. So to wrap this up here, what have we talked about? Wow, we talked a lot of data, a lot of examples, a lot of tips. Holy cow. So essentially, if I were to summarize everything here, I think what we talked about was what is quality score, and hopefully it's kind of normalized click-through rate in terms of how well the click-through rate of your ads and keywords are doing relative to the expected click-through rate at that position. There's other factors, but those tend to be kind of the most dominant in the algorithm. Obviously, as I've shown you, there's a huge, profound impact on cost per click and cost per action, and the key takeaway here is to optimize your ads for high click-through rate. So don't be running your PPC ads as though they're display ads with like 0.1% click-through rates or whatever. You really need to do really high click-through rates. Like Google expects a lot from you, and a lot of people, even a lot of smart people, don't realize how high those click-through rates actually need to be in order for you to be successful. And so looking for those AdWords jackpots, like looking through your top 100 keywords and searching and seeing what comes up, looking for opportunities to optimize, as well as kind of looking through your keywords in terms of the intent of the keywords. Make sure there's strong commercial intent. That is the key. And then the enemy is like very weak commercial intent keywords, like very informational keywords. Those tend to drag down your average CTRs, like a lead weight. It's not great. So I wanted to mention that a lot of the analysis that we were looking through in terms of those two accounts, I was looking at AdWords Grader reports. So what the heck is the AdWords Grader? It's a free instant PPC auditing tool that we've created here in WordStream, and hopefully as I was going through those reports, you can see how they can be very useful in providing feedback on your different key performance metrics, such as quality score, such as keyword targeting and ad text optimization and landing page optimization and negative keyword usage, etc. It can give you good feedback in terms of how you're doing in those different areas and where you should be focusing on. And in terms of the grading, what's really cool about this grading tool is that it uses best practice benchmarks that we've developed that are specific for your company size in terms of how much you spend on PPC, as well as your specific industry. Like if you're in the car industry, then we won't be comparing you with, I don't know, insurance companies or whatever, because that's not relevant to your business. So it's a free auditing tool. Just go to www.wordstream.com/Google AdWords. And as Chris mentioned earlier, we're running a free contest to win $25,000 of ad spend, of Google ad budget. It's like a big $25,000 AdWords coupon for you to use next year, and we're giving it away to the person who's got the most improved AdWords performance over a 30-day period. So give it a try. Hopefully you'll win. What is WordStream? WordStream is a provider of the 20-minute PPC work week. It's a PPC management solution designed specifically for small businesses who perhaps might not have 40 hours a week to work on PPC because you've got other things to do. A lot of agencies also use this thing because it's hard to manage lots of different accounts in a time-efficient way. So this will help them kind of manage accounts very quickly and easily and efficiently. And so what it does is we have this thing called the 20-minute PPC work week. It looks into your account, does some analysis, and kind of highlights 10 things for you to focus on in terms of like what you could do this week to improve your situation, without taking forever. So there's a free trial available too. So Chris, let's go to questions, but before that, let's see if we have anyone willing to take us up on any of these offers. The first offer has to do with a free AdWords AdWords audit of your account, and that would be with a WordStream professional and AdWords certified professional. So, I think that's very valuable in terms of providing a second opinion or having an extra set of eyes look over your work, and that's absolutely free, and we highly recommend that. A second offer we have here has to do with, a live demo of our PPC Advisor software, including the 20-minute PPC workweek, if that is interesting to you or your agency. Hopefully you will take us up on one of those offers, or we also have option C, which is nothing at the moment. So why don't we leave this poll open for a minute, and Chris, could we go to some of the questions here?
Yep. Thank you, Larry, and thank you everyone for sending your questions in. I just want to quickly note that we will be sending out links to the slides from the presentation and the recording of the presentation. So if you're tuning in late, or you missed one of the slides, you'll be able to check that out on demand. So. All right, let's get right into questions here. So the first question we have here is, obviously it takes some time to optimize your account to improve your quality scores, but Larry, what's a quick and easy first step to take to improve quality scores?
The fastest and easiest way to do this is to just start a branded keyword campaign in your account. Set it to 10 to 20% of the budget. Write some really good ad copy and start getting 30% click-through rates on those keywords or higher, and that will have a dramatic effect on the account. Just try it and let me know how that went.
Great, Larry. That's an awesome tip. The next question we have here is, do you recommend using exact match, phrase match, or modified broad or broad match?
So, they're all kind of converging. So like earlier this year, Google announced changes to how phrase match works, like with the exception of broad match, the phrase and exact and modified broad match, they're all starting kind of working the same way in terms of like near phrase match and all this stuff. So, definitely, if I would recommend using either modified broad match, or actually, let me put this another way. It has to do with the time you have to manage your account. So, like if you're an SEM expert and you're spending 40 hours a week managing your account, well then I would like to see, if you're worth your salt there, I would like to see a higher percentage of exact match or more restrictive match types. On the other hand, if you're a smaller business with less time, to spend on paid search, your time is not free, so that I would expect to see, more modified broad match keywords, which are a little bit broader and less specific, but nevertheless offer a nice kind of return for time spent, kind of thing. I hope that makes sense.
Great, thanks, Larry. The next question here is, what is the best way to generate negative keywords?
Wow. So, how are we doing on the poll? Can I show my do you want?
We have about 60% of people voted so far.
Let's go to this question. Now, let's keep the poll open for a minute. Everyone, please lock in your votes here. So that I can show you the most amazing way to find negative keywords. We'll show you that in the next question, but why don't we just try a different question for now?
Okay.
Chris.
Sure, we'll go back to that. What percentage does landing page experience have on quality score?
So it's not as much as you think. It's, in my regressions, we found very, very high correlations between the click-through rates and then the quality scores, like the expected click-through rates and the quality scores. What I did notice was that the correlation would drop the lower your ad position, meaning like, we were at like 60% correlations when we were, in ad spots 1 through 2, 50% correlations, in ad spots 2 to 3, and so on. As you get on to lower positions, you have weaker correlations. And so what I suspect is happening there is that, in the lower ad positions, you're getting these lower quality scores for other factors, such as the landing page experience, such as the keyword and ad text alignment and all that other stuff. Though it wasn't, it's not clear what's causing what. Like, is it the correlation and causation? It's two different things. So just in general, I just thought that it was mostly click-through rate, and then in the lower positions, I saw evidence that there could be other factors at play other than click-through rates.
Great. The next question we have here, Larry, is should I remove low quality score keywords from my account?
It depends. Low quality score keywords in of themselves don't hurt your quality score or your account average click-through rate if they're not getting any impressions. So if they're just kind of zero impression keywords, I would advocate for cleaning those up just to reduce clutter as opposed to raising your quality score. If you have keywords with low quality scores and that are getting a decent amount of impressions and clicks, or actually mostly impressions is what matters, not clicks, because if you're getting clicks then that's a good thing, right? It has to do with the click-through rate. So low keywords with low click-through rates, high impressions. I would definitely consider. You saw in the early slides, like the economics of getting a low quality score keyword to produce stuff is very, very hard. There was like 400% penalties for cost per click, and 80% penalties for cost per conversion. So generally you should be optimizing your account for ROI, but I've found that in optimizing keywords for ROI, the low quality score keywords are generally the ones that are not very economically viable, and so for that reason I would definitely consider shutting those down. It also has the nice benefit of raising your kind of average click-through rates for the various ad groups and campaigns and for the account, because you're getting rid of some of the dead weight there, and that will have a beneficial effect on all the other keywords on your account. So I would definitely consider cutting them if they had a lot of impressions and weren't doing well.
Larry, earlier in the presentation you talked about branded keywords. Now, does Google look negatively upon using competitors' brands names in your ads?
I don't believe so. So I mean, there's certain trademark law that you need to comply with, and Google would, they might even shut down your account if you're in violation of those trademark laws. But if you are using branded terms in a kind of legal way, like meaning not using the trademark in your ad copy, that's where people get in trouble, and not and just and being positive, go with I mean, there's two ways you can do this. It's like, you could say brand X sucks, use this instead, or you could be positive and say like, brand X is great and this is 2 times even better, or whatever. Like just don't go negative. I think that should be fine. And if you get a complaint, then just respond to it promptly.
Great, thanks, Larry. The next question here was, would you recommend using dynamic keyword insertion?
Absolutely. So dynamic keyword insertion is a kind of a great way to get slightly above average click-through rates. Now, that would kind of contradict what I was talking about with those AdWords jackpots. Now, so what the heck is going on here? So in a kind of a simple sense, you get a slight above average click-through rate just by using kind of dynamic keyword insertion. I don't necessarily think it's the smartest thing to do long term, but if you're looking for a kind of a quick win, kind of easy shortcut, kind of bang for your buck in terms of effort, then this is kind of a low-hanging fruit to try that would result in slightly above average click-through rates, because people are sometimes click on the words that they search on. But I've never seen cases of dynamic insertion where you get truly great click-through rates, like like this guy who had 30% click-through rates, 40% click-through rates, 50% click-through rates. To do that requires a little bit more creativity and thought than you're able to generate out of kind of just vanilla dynamic keyword insertion. So basically, my view on dynamic insertion, it's a great way if you're looking for like a single or a double. It's never a home run, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Thanks, Larry. So we're starting to run short on time here. Did you want me to close this poll so you could go back to the other question that you mentioned earlier? Okay.
Yes, please. Ladies and gentlemen, please lock in your votes here as we're shutting down the poll. Negative. Now, can you see my screen here?
Yep.
Negative keywords. And so just look for this thing called negative keywords, and we have this thing called the negative keyword tool. So this is a really interesting thing that you can use. So say I was bidding on something called like long tail, okay? So that's really interesting because, long tail, WordStream sells like search engine marketing solutions. Maybe we would be interested in selling our software to people who are searching for long tail. What you can see here is that in this negative keyword tool is that this ad could actually show up on a lot of terms that have nothing to do with search marketing. So like long-tailed birds, or long-tailed lizard, or long-tailed weasel, or long-tailed shirts. Here, this one is good, long-tailed keywords, but not long-tailed cats or mouses or lobster tails. You see what I mean? So this is a pretty interesting way of compiling good modifiers that that have nothing to do with your business. So there's the ad again. Good job, Chris. I wanted to give you one other example, like insurance or something. If maybe you're selling like insurance. What this will do is it'll show like all the different types of insurance. Like maybe you don't sell auto insurance. You're only selling like, I don't know, life insurance. Like, so that means you have to negate car and home, or travel. Just do this. Take your top keywords in your ad account, in your AdWords account, like the top 10 keywords, okay? And generally, like, there's going to be some keywords in your account that drive like the vast majority of your traffic. For those keywords, run them through this free negative keyword tool. It's absolutely free, okay? And then just look at all the different things that you can get potentially broad matched against. Export those lists and then apply them to your campaigns, and you'll see a nice kind of reduction in useless spending, and that you can then deploy to more productive spending. So that's my best tip there. All right.
Awesome. Thank you, Larry. Can you just bring up the last slide there so we can show everyone we'll close out the presentation?
Oh yeah. Hey guys. So again, thanks again for joining us today. We hope you really enjoyed us. The presentation, the content here that we've prepared. Just a final reminder to sign up for a trial and grade your account today. And if you have any questions, you can email me here, my information here, or even a better way to get a hold of me is on Twitter. Hope you'll all follow me on Twitter. I'll be able to communicate with you that way. Chris, do you have anything else to add?
Nope, that's it, Larry. I just a reminder to everyone, I will be sending out the slides and the recording of the webinar. So if you are tuning in late, or you want to watch this on demand again, I will be sending that out shortly after the presentation. But thank you, everyone, for attending, and have a great day today.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Chris.